Hello and welcome to Hospital Room's Digital Art School. My name is Sipire and I'm delighted to have you all here with us this morning. If you're new to Hospital Rooms, we are an arts and mental health charity that transforms dull and clinical spaces across the country and makes them into beautiful, colourful environments to receive care and recovery. This year, we have launched 4 brand new projects from Birmingham, Yorkshire, Bristol, and North East London. With the Digital Art School, we want to continue this mission to bring art across all audiences and bring wellness into people's facilities. We want to say a warm welcome to our friends joining us from Bethlehem Hospital. Freya, how are you this morning?
Hi, Sapire. Thank you. I'm here at South London and Maudsley NHS Foundation Trust, and we're at Bethlehem Royal Hospital in the activity room. I'm here with Becky, the head OT, and we've got a great group of participants from across the trust who are all really excited to join the workshop today. We've also got our digital art school boxes in front of us. I just wanted to say, if you haven't yet, at the end of this session, please scan the QR code on the box, register it so we know exactly where they are and how they're being used. I also just wanted to ask everyone to pop in the chat where they're joining from today. So we're in South London, Sapire is in East London. Back to you in East London.
Thank you so much, Freya. It's amazing to see all of those participants who are going to be joining us. I'm just going through the chat right now. We've got people joining in from California. We feel so lucky. We've got beautiful Misha. Hi, Misha. We've got lovely Anastasia joining us this morning. Guys, if you could do me a massive favor and go to the bottom of your screens and click on closed captions if you need it. We're so lucky to be able to have you here. And I want us to also introduce our very, very special guest and friend to Hospital Rooms. He is an artist, designer, curator, and he is an all creative human being who has done works for across a number of years. He's also an illustrator. And as you can see, these are some examples of his work, looking very amazing in his suit wear over here. We have the lovely Giles Deacon joining us and leading today's session. Giles, how are you this morning?
Very, very well, thank you. And so happy to be back here at Hospital Rooms, bringing some drawing joy to us all. Welcome to my studio in East London. We're here for the next half hour, 40 minutes or so, to all come together and participate in a live rose drawing workshop, I think is the best way of summing it up. We're going to be looking at how to go about drawing roses. It doesn't matter if you've never even drawn before. It's all about the participation and having fun with it and embracing the session.
That sounds really fantastic. I've got my rose red cardigan ready to go for this session. Over to you, Giles.
Lovely, lovely. Well, as I say, thank you so much for everybody joining today. We're all here together, and it's going to be wherever you're joining from. It's super to have you, and we're going to be connected, I guess, for the next half hour or so, and with the simple act of putting pencil, brush, whatever materials you have to paper. And as I mentioned, it doesn't matter if you've never drawn before or feel that you're not very good at art. It's all about the participation, and I hope that you'll get something enjoying and fulfilling from it. It's all about having fun, relaxing, and seeing what unfolds on the page. So let's start with materials. What I think from the boxes that have been sent, I've got some of the materials out here. I've got a marker pad right here, which is great if you want to work with sort of pen. Great with that. Some watercolor paper. I've got a smaller piece here and a larger piece here. Great pencil, pen also, putting watercolor washes on. We've got some beautiful watercolor kits as well, like this little one here. Great to do some washes on there when we go into the detailing and flourishes. Great for ink as well, if you want to do something simple with line drawing. And then we've got some tracing here, which is really good that if you say if we've done a pencil or pen drawing on the marker paper here, you can then place this over and keep a record and then do multiples as well. So they can do all sorts of fun things with that as we go through. Now, there's been an email gone through with some images and good outlines to look at from the beginning of some roses. So if you haven't got these yet, they will be with you soon. So you'll be able to print them off and have a good look at them. These are some photographs that I took of some roses, which I thought would be a really interesting way to start. And I think that if we have a look at the elements of the rose, there's so many beautiful parts about it, but they're kind of essentially petals, stems, thorns, and leaves. Everything else that goes on in between it. So don't get too worried about capturing every single element immediately. We're going to start with by looking at the outline and looking at the elements and see how we can all move forward with that. So I am going to start today with the marker pad. I'm going to have a go across a few of the materials in front of us, just to have a look at the different techniques that we can work with. And there's also these drawing outlines as well. So for those who are maybe not feeling quite so confident about their drawing abilities, when you've got these are a really good way to slip underneath the tracing here, and then you can, where we go, got it, there we are. You can see it comes through straight there. You can trace a simple line, and you can start getting a feel of what it is that the rhythm of the roses are like. And then, this is all about interpretation and experimenting. So if you want to extend petals larger and make a larger rose, that's all great and all a really good way to go with everything. So those are a really good starting point for those who are not feeling so confident from the offset. And your confidence will build with these drawings, I promise you. And stick with it, and you'll get some really super results. So the rose. Let's start with a single rose. I'll just move this across here, and then I'm going to grab one of these pens. And I think the basic outline is the great way to start. So look at the rose in front of you. We can start with a shape which is essentially a big abstract circle. You can then look at what the stem is and draw it down. And the stems are never the same thickness. They go thinner, they go a little bit fatter. So which is great for imperfect drawings. And roses are imperfect, which is all part of their beauty. So the imperfections are the things that make them really interesting. And you can look at thorns as well. So if that's a good way to start, do a few of those. You can then do into something that's a little bit more detailed. So something that's like this sort of shape. And think of the rhythm of when you draw, and look at what you're drawing, and really draw slowly. I would think is a nice way to start, and think about the rhythm of how you're drawing with whatever the material is, be it pencil or pen or paintbrush. Look at different scales as well. You could do smaller ones, larger ones, and build them up like that. And I think going across a first page of these is a really nice way to kind of get your eye and hand coordinated and into an idea of what you're doing. And as I say, don't be put off if at all you're thinking, oh God, this is so good, I'm terrible at this. There's no right or wrong with this drawing. And that's the beautiful thing about it. So you can then have a play with different speeds and different thicknesses of line. And I think that's a really super way to begin. And they can look like kind of candy floss tops and all sorts of various things. And I think that's a really, really lovely way to start. I'm going to do a few more. going to change my over to pencil, just to show you some other ways of drawing them. Pencil's great. I do a whole host of work with pencil, and it gives a finer detail, and it gives. I like the way it gives a different kind of sort of precision detail. So your rose outline can look like that, and on this one we're going to go a little bit more detail, and I hope I'm not going too quickly here. Get a nice stem all the way down through to here. There we go, nice little thorn on there. There we go. And the great thing I think you can to try and do is from whatever you're looking at, just sort of try and capture the feeling of it. That's the best way. You're not doing like a technical drawing of the rose. It's a capture the feeling and your interpretation as well. I'm always quite interested in the little green leaves that sit at the top of the rose. Now on this one, I think it would be kind of nice to start looking at petals. We call this kind of observing the rose. And petals curl, and petals react differently to light and shadow and how it plays across them. And I guess one of the things that why the rose is sort of so fascinating to people is because it's so simple. Yes, it's really intricate as well. And I think that's what makes it a real kind of joy to try to capture. So in simple terms, think of it as like doodling in spirals. I think that's a nice way of going. And think how one petal folds over another. You can start drawing them. Abstract, again, works very well with drawing roses because they're natural forms and there's no precise set order. So you can start drawing different rhythms to them, filling them out. Doesn't matter if you go over the previous outline as well. That's really super. And you can start getting a feel of what this rose could look like. And you can see how this one has built up relatively quickly. You're starting to get an idea of some layered petals. And that's a super simple way of getting an initial petal flower head shape together. I'll start with another one over here, slightly different form, to a not so open bloom, which would go to almost like a kind of shape of a sort of garlic, I guess, at the top. And you can think about how the petals would sit when they're more enclosed. And do the similar kind of work again, draw over them, line over line, and make these kind of petals all fold on top of each other. It's more of a rosebud as such. It's quite a large rosebud. And then think about how these guys can interact, make a little cross up in here, down here, more thorns. I love thorns within roses. I think they're such beautiful things. And the stems, again, they can be, don't have to be straight. They're never straight in nature. They're always got irregularity. And so hopefully you've got some images appearing in front of you. It's probably a good point to have a little pause and have a look at what you've been working on, and see, and a bit of celebrate the fact that you started, you're producing something, and it's and hopefully getting some interesting and fun out of it. We go back again, and with me going through the workshop here, you can quite happily sit and work through doing the multiples and multiples. Often when I'm at home, I'll sit and I'll draw, and I'll sit and work for half an hour and go back to something and work on another one and draw multiples of them. And it's I find it a really lovely exercise to do that's really kind of meditative and super nice to relax and get myself involved with. I'm going to jump to another material now, which we've got some gorgeous watercolour paper. So thank you to the friends at Windsor and Newton for sending all of these packs out. The packs are brilliant. I hope you all have been enjoying them over the day. And I'm going to go with some watercolour paper here. And I might stretch over to some ink. Get the inks going, which are gloriously messy and a very nice different feel to the pencil and heavy felt pen that we've had a go at already. And I always like to get a little piece just to have a practice on, just to get the line right, see where we're heading. So I've got one of the brushes here, some water, give it a good wash, make sure I've not got anything that's not needed on there, and just have a little kind of no ink, just to sort of clean your brush and see that everything's all good. Have a dip in the ink, and this is a wonderful black ink, and then just have a little play, see that the brush is all working well. That's all good. Play there. This was an old brush of mine, so I might move over to one of the nice new brushes that you've got. That's a bit better. This one working now. There we go. Look at that, gorgeous. So let's, using the same theory as we did before, thinking of the rose outline, start on the paper. This is the kind of A3 size that I've got in front of me here. I always like to start at the top, not in the middle, and really just sort of think about what this rose shape would be like. This is again in the Indian ink, and really just enjoy the ink's way of working and moving. It's just a lovely line, and it's super sort of graphic, it's a little bit almost cartoon in one sense. And I think my interest in roses, aside from some beautiful ones in parks and what have you, was probably like Beauty and the Beast and the Enchanted Rose there, and Alice in Wonderland as well, with all of the Queen's roses. They were really super. So you can have a bit of a go here, get a stem on. Look at that. And there we go, bit of concentration. There we are. And then get some thorns on there. Not doing any leaves yet, really. Have we been forgetting about leaves? Need someone to remind me. And then put some leaves on as well. Nice ones there. They look quite pretty, don't they? And you don't have to start with black ink either. I think, whatever colour you'd like to begin with, just you have an experimental way. That's what all of this exercise is all about experimentation, having mark making, drawing is an experience, painting, and the connection of producing something that you're going to be proud of. So that is a very kind of quick example of what the rose could be like. And I would let this dry, and then we could go back to seeing about adding some colour and texture and shading, and see how that will all work together. We might do one on a smaller. And within the conversation of experimentation, I mean, as drawing in pretty much with everything, I always kind of quite like bold lines personally, but other people will absolutely excel at softer touches. So to follow your instincts, it's your rose to do what you would like with it. So I might just move over brushes actually to a slightly smaller brush. Very lucky to have these kind of materials. And I think, Freya, if you're with us, you were you possibly going to get some questions while we're working through, Freya? Oh, Sophia, okay, right.
Yes, Giles, we actually have such great reactions to this session, so thank you so much. We've got a question here from Maya in California who is asking, is there a difference with using pencil versus charcoal and the ink you're using now?
Well, the difference is the end result, I guess, and they all have equal joy and beauty about them. And my advice would be to use all of them in differing degrees, sometimes together, sometimes on their own, and see what works for you, and what you're liking the results with, and what you're finding pleasing. So, really have some playful experimentation with it.
Amazing. We've got a couple of comments from people who are asking if you're new to art and you feel a little bit nervous on tackling a white sheet of paper, how do you start?
Oh, well, first draw anxiety. Everybody gets that. The way to start is to get in there. And I think that's the thing. And the physical action of beginning to start and doing it is the most important. Because as I say, there's no right or wrong. It's all about the participation of it. And some days you'll draw, some days will be better than others. But the more you do, the more you play with it, the more you relax, and the more you enjoy it, the more the results will be, kind of visible to you. And in all my years of drawing and working, both professionally and kind of just sort of personally, I look back on work that I've done a long time ago. At the time, I thought had no merit whatsoever, was absolutely appalling, and there's real joy in it. And sometimes the simplest and most naive lines can be the most charming in one sense. So try not to judge yourself and try not to be too hard on yourself about it, and just go with a bit of a kind of cavalier attitude to it and just have a go, because I think that's the reason why we're here, is to engage and to play. Think of it as play rather than a formal. There's no judgment here, which is something that I think is really important to be clear with.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Giles. And I really resonate with your standing statement of playing, because when we're younger, we're encouraged to play and to draw and have no bounds. And as we get older, sometimes we have those critical thoughts and critical judgments, but making is just playing.
Exactly. And to remember that is so vital. And I think that when you kind of begin to lose yourself into that sort of slightly meditative aspect of drawing and art, which is why an awful lot of artists and designers do the world that they do, because it helps them. It's a really super way of expressing your viewpoint, your own unique perception of the world and how you want that to be seen. So you can see just by doing a few of these, you can see the difference within them. You can start making sort of bunches, storytelling, and I who by no means expert of experts, but I can paint and draw. But today already, from the one I did at the beginning to where I am now, I'm more relaxed, and I can feel that it's more, I'm getting into a headspace where I'm enjoying it in a different way, and I'm feeling some new looks and feels, and it's all about that, And I look at these later when they're dry and think, yeah, no, actually, not a bad effort there today. I hope, So that's the kind of the joy of it all, I think.
Amazing. We have a question from Joyce from the Philippines, which is amazing. Thank you, Joyce, for joining us all the way over there. And she has asked, which artists or movements have had the biggest impact on your development?
Ollie, that's a very in-depth question, Joyce. Would say a mix from, and I'm not just talking about within the realm of roses. I pick elements from all sorts of different areas. I love kind of the flat 2D world of medieval art. That always makes me quite intrigued, because they hadn't really established the idea of 3D representation. And so that something from a line drawing works very nicely from that. And I really like pop art. That's a great thing. Art Deco. There's some really beautiful patterns and plants and rose representation of that. And in the arts and crafts period, I guess when people like William Morris, an artist designer who I really admire, who made the most extraordinary prints that I'm sure lots of us are familiar with, and made very beautiful, intricate work. That they would be ones that spring to mind. So I like a whole mix from contemporary to historical, and I think that to research and to have a look at all of those worlds is a great thing to do, because you can you'll see something that you really kind of just quite like and can observe and look at and see how it's done.
Amazing. And I think you mentioned earlier when you were drawing your rose, your great love for roses and being inspired from Beauty and the Beast. Drama seems to be a huge theme in your work, from your fashion with the masks. We saw some of those examples. Would you say that drama and the theatrical world really inspires you as well, Giles?
Absolutely. I mean, I love characters and I love stories and I love people's personal stories. And I always try to develop characters and imagination and see how people can inhabit all sorts of extraordinary worlds, which you can then draw on creatively and think about them in quite fantastical terms. They can be, varied as time travel and live in a frozen Tudor garden and also travel in space, and I think all of these ideas are really exciting to me, and they take things out of the ordinary, and that's from a creative perspective is really intriguing to me.
Beautiful. And I like the fact that you said taking you out of the ordinary. And sometimes we do need that theatre. We need that fantasy in our everyday lives. Thank you so much, Giles. We have so many people in the chat chatting away. Just before we get back into Charles's session, I just want to shout out our global audience today. We have people, like I said, from the Philippines, from Greece, Malaysia, Berlin, Manchester, Yorkshire, Spain, Cape Town in South Africa. Thank you, family. France, bonjour, and Australia. So it's so amazing for you all to join us this morning. Please keep on writing your questions in the chat. We're going to transfer back to Giles in his session, and then we're going to follow up with more questions in a little bit.
Okay.
Over to you, Giles.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, we're really getting motoring along well on the rose development, and I think that I've got a few here that are drying. They all seem to go in the same direction today. They're heading towards the window, which is all good. So I think what we've got now, the ones which I have in front of me at least, are all the ones with ink. So the kind of good way to work with them, I've got a nice mix of materials in front of me. I've got the beautiful watercolor set, and these rather intriguing watercolor sticks, which are rather fabulous, with a very, very kind of deep rose red and a slightly lighter color. So I'm going to have to play with those. I've not really used these for a long, long time, so who knows? So I've got some watercolor stick anxiety occurring there to have a go and see what my results are. It might work, might not, but again, that's all part of it. It's getting in there and having a go. So the rose that we have in front, which is the one that's nearly dry, it might not be properly dried yet, but we'll have a look at this one. Now, where do we want this rose to be? It's night time, so let's have a little trial with this here. That's quite that color. That's quite bright red there. Let's sound effects. Crikey, broken it. You see, heavy-handed here. Might need some professional help. There we go. No, I'm good there. Right, we're off. So I'm going to add some depth, I think, to this rose, and I'm going to shade rather than with pencil. I'm going to shade with this watercolor stick to begin with. Excuse me. And start adding into some kind of areas here. Now, as I've got these two colours, I'm going to use both. And I know from when I've used these before, it's quite simple in the adding of into these kind of blocks. It's almost kind of filling in your own paint by numbers here in a certain degree. It's a nice way to do things. And if you say you've been doing the photocopy and with the tracing, you can adopt the similar techniques as well with where you are with this, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to add a little bit of colour in here. Got some layering in here. Go for slightly lighter red as well. And as we touched on kind of history of painting and artistic movements and things, I mean, the rose has been a constant inspiration for people for such a long time. I think I would suggest it's probably kind of due to its sort of symbolism, its sort of beauty. They're resilient roses as well, aren't they? And they can grow everywhere and anywhere. And they've got a sense of permanence about them, which I think is really interesting. So I will now clean my brush here in some. There we go. I hope everybody's having a good time as they join. I would love to see how you're all getting on, because I'm really intrigued to see how it all is. I'm sure there's some fantastic works appearing. You can see how I'm now adding a little bit of water to here. The ink's pretty much dry, which is great. So I'll be quite light on some of it, and I've been quite heavy as it would be with the watercolor stick. But it gives a beautiful mix of colour. And the Indian ink that we use doesn't run, which is great. So you get a permanent line almost there. And you can see the different colours of the red with that rose head there. Let's not try that. Bit rubby down that end there. So I'll leave that like that. And again, to sort of say that I always kind of gravitate kind of quite bold lines. So hence this one is looking quite strong and graphic, but I like things like that. And I'm going to have a little look into the watercolor set in my brush once more. We've got some nice some light browns here, which could be interesting. And I always like to mix colors together. Don't be too precious with these sets. You can wash over them, get some new layers going. Let's look at this and see how we quietly fill in here a little bit of stem in there. And stems are a funny thing because they're sort of can be a green, they can be a greeny brown. I mean, it can be any color you want it to be, but I sometimes like to make them a little bit more on the brown side rather than the green side. The green on here. Very light wash in here with slightly. This leaf is looking quite full now, which is really lovely. I'm very happy about how that's all looking. Hello. A bit of concentration. I'm not used to talking and drawing and painting at the same time. So if I go a little bit quiet, I'm great. It's a real skill, those people that can do all of those kind of demonstrations, talk and yeah, slightly brighter green up at the top there. Jolly this rose. And you can think of names for them as well. I mean, I think historically roses have always had all sorts of um of, of interesting names. One of my favourite roses is a very ancient rose. I think it goes back to sort of 1600s, 1500s, and it was Dutch in origin, and it's I think it's called a Rosa Mundi, and it's one of those roses that are striped, especially with lots of kind of Flemish Renaissance painting, and they're really suited, which would be another great thing to draw and paint. So we're coming up to a near finish, I think, on this one here for this session. I might just do paint a little bit of a darker brown for the thorns. Put that in there. Go. And there we go. That's my probably my start for the day of a rose. And you can, the great thing, you can keep your other ones, you can keep them to one side, have a look and see what you think worked, how you'd like to reapproach them. But and also you can draw lots to a page. Once you can put them in different directions, think about the frameworks, and they're a really super thing to keep nearby as well, you know, as a token for your artistic endeavours for the day.
Thank you so much, Giles. That was brilliant. Look at that red rosy color, and I love the stem that you've done as well. Thank you so much. We've got so many questions. Everyone is buzzing in the chat. We have a question from Faza from Indonesia who's asked, how does your personal mood, emotion relate to your resulting painting?
That's a very good question. I would say that when I engage with doing drawings and paintings, whatever my mood has been, I always feel a little bit more content and happier after doing some artistic practice rather than not. So I think that's where we can really see the value in drawing and painting and collage making and whatever it is that really gets you that you feel relatable to, and what you, from an artistic and expressive perspective, what works for you. That's why I guess artists and humans like the physical act of making and mark making and drawing, which is why for forever it's been what it is, and why it has meaning. You know, it has great connection, and that's, you know, ultimately that's its core of importance.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I think that really resonates with the core of what Hospital Room stands for in terms of when you're happy, draw. When you're feeling a little low and poorly, draw. Because it can be that cathartic experience. So that really resonates with us.
Yeah.
We have another question from Alicia from Malaysia. What are your fave roses?
Oh my God. Well, I touched on the Rosa Mundi, but I'm was brought up in the Lake District. For those who are not so familiar with it, it's a very cold part of the northwest of England, and roses, of course, grow there, but they're generally in kind of behind sort of dry stone walls, and they're very much kind of hardy climbing roses, which flower pretty much from May through to October, and they're small and they go really wild, which is what I like. And one thing we've not talked about today, which I think would be really interesting to think about, is because we get so used to seeing and thinking about a rose as a cut stem. They, of course, do not appear in the world like that. They have the most extraordinary root systems and balls, which are really really wild and beautiful and tangled that give all the growth and nutrients that help them become these beautiful things at the top of it all. And I think that's something to potentially explore as well, and think about how you can see the duality of the worlds that tether it and what make it into something so beautiful.
Amazing. We have people in the chat saying it was such a fun session. Thank you, Giles. People calling it a masterclass. We love that. Of course, a masterclass with Giles. We wouldn't expect any less. We have a question, which I think is quite amazing to ask. You've had so much experience, Giles, working in fashion, the fashion industry for a number of years now. Do you have any advice or has inspirations in getting into such a exciting but, competitive industry?
Absolutely. I think follow your heart and work out what is important for you, and understand what drives you from a kind of potential skills area of where your expertise could really flourish and how you could grow. Because there's lots of hugely important parts to all of the creative industries as well that all make them work together, and they're all really important. So they're great industries, the creative industries to get involved with, and there's lots of different areas you can get engaged with. So give it a go, and you'll find your path.
Amazing. And I think the huge sentiment today is give it a go. I think with the drawings, when you see that white sheet of paper, give it a go.
Absolutely.
And then we have one final question that is coming from the chat. How do you find inspiration? Is it through going to museums? Is it through nature? Is it through conversations? Because your career and the way that you practice your work is through textiles and fashion and making prints and illustration. What are the things that feed the inspirations for you?
I think ultimately it's everything that you've just described, but to have an open-minded curiosity. If you approach the world with an open-minded curiosity to ideas and worlds and cultures, the inspiration will come to you, and that can be from anywhere.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Giles. I wanted to head over to Bethlehem Hospital with the lovely Freya. Freya, how has the session gone over where you are?
Hi, thank you so much, Giles. We all absolutely loved the session. I've got some gorgeous examples to show here. This is by Emma.
Oh my God, look at that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Lovely use of colour there. This is Becky's one, which I think has a bit of the paisley in it as well.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And then this one by Gemma.
Gemma, beautiful work on there.
Yeah.
And again,
And then we have Anna's one as well.
delicate. Yeah.
Yeah, we've made loads. We've got a lot more, but we've had an absolutely brilliant time. So a massive thank you from us.
Right. No, it's a real pleasure to do, and I hope hope that people continue and think about drawing, and whenever you feel you want to, just get on and do some.
Yeah.
They're great. Say they're great tokens to have, and they're a lovely gift for friends and family, and really super things to do. And there's nothing better than receiving a gift of something that's been handdone by somebody. So much for everybody.
Thank
you
you.
so much, Giles. We're so thrilled that you were able to join us. Thank you so much for your time and for your beautiful roses.
No problem. Happy to help.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Freya and Bethlehem Hospital. This was Hospital Rooms Digital Art School. Next year, we're going to be celebrating our 10th anniversary of this gorgeous organization. So if you would love to learn more about us or get involved or showcase some of the art that you made today, please head over to the Hospital Rooms website and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We are also on social media, Instagram and on TikTok. So I want to say a big thank you from the Hospital Rooms family and have a lovely Friday, guys. Goodbye.
Bye.